Welcome to another edition of Legal Quilts. We're shooting from a different angle today because some people have said they can't see what I'm actually doing on the machine. So we're going to try something different. Hopefully it works. Hopefully my big old arm doesn't block everything. But we're going to try it and see what happens. So this is kind of the end of scrap summer. Next week, which is Labor Day weekend, is the real official end, where we'll kind of have a roundup and we'll talk about what we did and everything. Then normally there would be one on the every other week schedule, but I'm skipping that one for a couple of reasons. One, y'all don't need to hear me 3 weeks in a row. I don't want to do 3 episodes in a row. And like I said, y'all don't really want to see me 3 episodes in a row. Also, as you know, I'm contemplating doing a tapestry quilt over the winter, either the stripes ones or the ocean temperature. I'd like to do that as a quilt along, and that'll give me time to post the fabric requirements on Ko-fi. Everything's going to be on Ko-fi. Don't worry, it's public. You don't have to sign up for Ko-fi. You can literally look at the page and see what it is, okay, or page through and see it without signing up for Ko-fi. So you can see it, go to the Ko-fi page and see it, and see what the fabric requirements are. Of course, if you feel like kicking in a couple bucks Ko-fi, it's greatly appreciated. So I need to know which ones y'all want to do, because Tapestry puts it out for yarn, and I have to figure out the equivalent fabric ones and then figure out how much fabric is. So the voting on that's going to end Monday, Labor Day. That'll then give me time in September to figure out the fabric requirements, get them posted, that sorts of things. And it's going to be a lap size quilt, so there's going to be some interesting sewing to make that work. So that's the plan for right now. So what are we going to do today? Remember the bandana quilt I did of Tail of the Dragon that was part of our vacation, and we went and wrote it and everything? Well, I laid it out, and now I'm going to quilt it. All right. And so today is free motion quilting curves. Okay. Like I said, I've laid it all out. I sandwiched it, laid it out, whatever you want to call it, where I, got the top and the bottom and the batting in there. I'm trying a new batting. It's silk bamboo, which is a little lighter, because I want to see how light this comes out. This is really more of like a summer quilt for those nights it's a little chilly, but you don't want a big heavy thing. Okay. And of course, curves is the perfect thing for this, because the Tail of the Dragon is, let me read that again, 318 curves and 11 miles, all right? So we've got it under the machine all nice and flat, okay? I basted it on with the spray baste because I like that better, but if you like to sew baste, there's other videos out there that'll tell you how to do it, and there's nothing wrong. You do what you're most comfortable doing, okay? And I've got my free motion quilting on here, and I've got my feed dogs down, okay? I'm not messing with anything else on here because it pretty much works the way I want. Maybe the stitching could be a little longer. The other thing, though, is make sure you loosen your tension, because you're going through several layers. I don't actually have to have that many. You're going through all 3 layers, one of which is kind of thick with the batting. And this is actually 4 layers in some places. So it's all ready to get started. I'm just quilting it in white because this is mostly white. And said it's just going to be curves. Where do you start when you're free motion quilting? Pretty much anywhere you want, wherever you're most comfortable starting, okay? But I like to start in the center for a reason. You're quilting from the center out, so that as your quilt moves and spreads, as you're quilting, as you're smoothing it out, it's going out to the unquilted sides, so it has room to expand. If you start at one of the edges and you work like towards the middle, you might wind up with it didn't get smooth properly somewhere, and then you've got to fold right in your quilt, and there's not a lot you can do at that point, because maybe your top is straight but your back is folded, or You know, it won't lay flat in the middle, and there's not a lot you can do because you've already quilted everything and it's got nowhere to go and you just have to rip out stitches. Ripping out stitches is not fun. So we want to do something that's not fun. But it's not wrong, like you could work at one corner and work your way out, you know, to the other corner, and that still lets you expand out. It's whatever works best. Now, I'm doing this on my domestic machine, so everything doesn't quite fit in there, so I just like to roll it up so it keeps that a little neater while you're working on it, okay? Curves are one of the easiest things you can do when quilting, when free motion quilting, literally. It doesn't get any easier than this. And I hope y'all can see, here's my free motion foot, and here's where I'm gonna start. I start right around the triple apex corner, all right? Feet dogs down. There's my foot, my presser foot. You might want to also slow your speed down. Yeah, slow your speed down a little bit so you're not racing through, but not so slow that you're going to hit your bobbin casing, because that'll make a mess, okay? And I'm doing this a little off center so I don't get in there, but it's curved so it's okay. It doesn't have to be as perfect. And you just lower your thread. Just a little loose there, and then you just, mine makes a, oh, forgot to put the presser foot down. Always put the presser foot down. It's really, I forget the presser foot all the time when I'm free motion quilting, because you have it up so that you can fit all 3 layers under there as you're pulling it through, but then it fills all the space so you forget your presser foot is up. So always remember, mine fortunately reminds me, hey idiot, you forgot the presser foot. And then I go, oops, and put it down, and it's no big deal. Okay, and so then you just press. Okay, I've slowed this down a little too much. That's making me nuts. Okay, there we go. And for curves, this is the easiest thing you can do. You literally just swoop it around. Being careful. Now remember, when you're free motion quilting, you don't have the dogs to hold it in place. So any jerking movement can jerk your line out, okay? So when you stop, always make sure you stop with your needle down, so if you're adjusting or something, you're not jerking it out of place. And you've got a lot to work with here. This is the other reason I like the table. You've got lots of room to spread it out, okay? And smooth it out, and a lot of space to work with, okay? And then you just keep doing, but you don't want to, like I said, do jerky movements, and also the fabric won't move, so if you don't move it, you're sewing in place. But if you move it too much, you're going to get these really long, weird stitches. And you don't want that either. So you just keep going, and you can stop and start, and you can even cut your thread and start over somewhere else. But that's all. And your curves are just, especially on this one, which is about curves, don't have to be equal. You can be as curvy as you want. I gotta go over here. I'm going to have to probably do this in another direction because I'm kind of curving in a straight line down. Oops. That bunched up a little bit there when I was laying it out, so I want to smooth that out. And there's a reason I'm still going, but I'm going to get down here. That's okay, this is why I like the tacky, because it really does just come up. You can just stick your hand in there and smooth it out. Which I gotta do in a couple places here, okay? That's the other reason I like the spray based. It's a lot easier to just correct. Like I said, make sure you're down, and then just curvy around. Again, oops, I didn't stop with it down, so it jumped a little bit. Good thing this is just for the family. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have jumps. We're human. Okay? Now, here's the thing. I don't know if you can see it or if I blocked what I'm doing. I probably did. I'm now down. You can see this here. I'm now down into the wide border, the last wide border. Let me hold it up a little bit here. I'm now down into, you see, you got this border, the blue border, and then the white border, okay? That's a little hard to see, but it's white, trust me. Don't forget your borders. Believe it or not, tacking down your borders with quilting, you can either do a separate design all around your borders. I like to do swirls all the way around. That's fun. Or whatever you want to do, tack down your borders. It makes the next step of binding so much easier because you're not pulling up this fabric to make sure it meets the back so that you can get your binding in there, okay? Now since I'm doing curves and apparently I'm going down and down, I'm just going to do that. And when you get to the end, you just cut your thread and you're done. And you move to the next section, which I kind of did some wide sections up here. But that's it. That's all you do to do curves. It looks like, let me move this up here. Let me get you on a good spot. I did it in the black. You can see it better in the black a little bit. You just curve and some kind of large stitches there. You want to keep your stitches a little more uniform. Oh dear, there are some large stitches here. You want to try to keep your stitches uniform and not pull them too much, because if you have these large stitches, you can grab on them and it might snap the threads, and that's not good. I mean, this isn't bad, it's not the end of the world, but you want to be careful when you're doing it that you're not jerking it a lot on long things. But you're going to get some longer stitches, and that's okay. Wow. Yeah. And you're always going to have longer stitches unless you're entering it in a quilt show. Your stitches don't have to be completely uniform. If you're entering in a quilt show, you know how you get better at your machine quilting? Practice, practice, practice. It'll come. Your first ones are going to be long. You're going to have jerks here and there. It gets better. Just keep doing it. Keep trying it. If you get frustrated one day, set it aside. Step away from the machine, because we're not here to get frustrated. We're here to have fun. And if the quilting isn't fun, just stop doing it. Stop doing it for a while. Come back to a day when you're in a little better mood. Okay? And that's it for this time. I'll post the links to the survey at the end of the show and the show notes. But again, next week is Labor Day weekend, and we will have a video kind of wrapping up summer. I'm going to be honest here, I didn't do nearly as much. This summer went by quickly, so I didn't get nearly as much done as I planned on. I never do. And then, like I said, we'll have one in, like, I think 3 weeks then. So, stay cool, stay safe, and have fun. There are no quilt police. Have fun quilting, and we will see you next week.